Welcome back to Talk is Jeep. I'm your host, Art Aldrich, with my co-host, Mr. Tom Chartrand.
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me back.
This is part 3 of what I am calling the Killington experience.
Yes.
We have detailed over the first 2 episodes. This is your first Jeep Jamboree as a driver.
Behind the wheel.
Behind the wheel. It's really the first time you've wheeled your current Jeep.
Correct. And really anything beyond the beach.
Right.
You know, I drop it into 4 high, air down the tires.
Son of beach, too.
Son of beach, yeah. And love to go out on the dunes and enjoy the ocean and have that kind of solitude. But this was such a crazy different experience.
Right. And this is my second trip to Killington. And I talked about it. I'm not going to repeat the story, but, I was here in 2019 with a fairly new Jeep JL Sport, and it was stock. And I was the littlest Jeep in this, line of monsters. And, I went on the same trails that we ran this time.
Right.
And my Jeep got bashed and, beaten, but it survived and I survived. And I since have done upgrades to it. And
Right.
then
That's
I've run the same trail. So we'll talk a little bit about that too.
Right.
But before we get into all of that, just as a participant in your first Jeep Jamboree, overall, tell me about your experience from start to finish.
Well, and Melissa and I, my wife, we talked about it. It had the feeling of, we're really into the band Fish, the whole music scene. We travel for concerts, that whole thing. And it's a community. It's, people walk up to you and they're friendly and they talk to you. And it was the same thing here. I mean, the Jeep community is committed not only to their love of their Jeeps, but also each other and wanting to get together and talk about their Jeeps and their families and everything else. So that was a familiar and welcome
So you're
feeling.
saying the Fish crowd are freaks? Because the Jeep
In their
crowd
own
is
way.
freaks.
In their own way, absolutely.
I agree with you there. It's a community. I mean, the people who buy Jeeps, for the most part, love their Jeeps.
Right. They're not buying it for a vehicle. They're buying it because it's a Jeep.
It's not just a transportation mode
Right.
for most people. So let me ask you this. Tell me about your connection with your Jeep after this 2 days of off-roading.
Right. I mean, we had bought this Jeep. I had wanted a TJ. I wanted, the older model. It brought me back to when we had our original Wrangler, which was an 01X. And, we loved that body style. We weren't going to spend the money on, the newer JKs or JLs. We had an idea of what we wanted to spend, and we went with it. Found a Jeep. And for one, I was like, all right, it's somebody else built it. Somebody else worked on it who was a enthusiast. And, we studied all that. It's got a nice 4-inch spring lift from TerraFlex, and had put nice tires on it, 33-inch. And then I did a couple of simple mods, just knowing that I was going to do this with you, putting, the higher end diff covers and disconnects and some skid plates in places that, I thought. So I knew it wasn't tricked out, but I felt like it was going to hopefully be safe on the trail. And, having talked to you about it, I think I made the right decision, to be able to bring it up here. I was really nervous.
Well, I mean, the proof's in the pudding. I mean, you're basically going to get in this Jeep and drive it home.
Right.
And so, your Jeep survived, you survived, but do you feel a tighter connection to your Jeep now?
Absolutely. I mean, yesterday, there were decisions being made. I was watching everybody else. There was, I wasn't sure what I was doing, so I was hyper aware of what everyone else was doing. So today, I kind of took some of that experience and rode with it. And I felt like it could do things that I never thought it could do. Going over some of these things, I was shocked at. We first hit that first rock and had to climb over it. And I'm like, my precious old ancient TJ Sahara can't do this. And it did. And as I figured that out with your help and other people's help, it did other things even easier. And I think that was just because I pushed it in a way that I thought it could handle it. And I never thought that it could do that.
I mean, it sounds goofy, but I feel a tighter connection to my Jeep having done, and I've done 4 events
Mm-hmm.
with the Jeep Jamboree. I've done some other events just privately, but I feel a closer connection to the Jeep. I have a better, whatever you want to say. I pick up on the nuances of the noises and the sounds and
Yeah, there were a lot of sounds today.
a lot of sounds. But I do feel a tighter connection with that. And I think anyone who has a Jeep who has not done a Jeep Jamboree really should do one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, anyone. They're all run very well. And it gives you a new appreciation. Because like I said, I did mine. Mine was like stock.
Right.
Like I'm still making payments on mine, And I took it, in on these trails, and again, the trail we did today.
Yeah.
The trail we did the first day, like let's just call that like a 2. Today, we were like a 5-6.
Right. Right.
And it was a much, I was prepared for it. I knew what it was, but you
I was
weren't.
not prepared. No.
You had no clue. But after doing that in a stock Jeep with no modifications and being able to come through it, the fact that my stock vehicle, which is not a Rubicon, not
Right.
the top of the line Jeep, made it. Like I was so impressed with the Jeep vehicle as a brand, as a company. Like I was like, wow, this vehicle really can do much more than I had imagined in its stock form.
Right. In a time when products don't do what they're advertised to do, this is something that through the ages has, been able to live up to the, the pressures you put on it. I was amazed. And to take what you said before a little bit further, the connection with not only the Jeep, but with nature. I mean, being able to go places that people don't get to go to unless they're hiking, but we took this vehicle that Jeep Jamboree has worked around, taking you places that people can't get to in the vehicles and trusting that the vehicle you're driving can do it. They know they've, searched it out and worked it out. And I was amazed. I really was.
Yeah, agreed. And it's, again, I'll just say it. Everyone should do one if you own a Jeep vehicle. Now, last time I was here, there was someone in a Grand Cherokee with not very many modifications that tried to do some of these, low-level trails. And there was a fair amount of body damage and possible mechanical damage by the time he was done. And I would say, maybe not those vehicles, but if you've got a Wrangler or, CJ certainly, or, Willys, we saw 2
beautiful,
fine Willys
yeah.
today on the trail. They weren't part of the Jamboree, I think, because of the safety requirements that you have to have a roll bar. But these Willys were
These people live out here, and it's part of the lifestyle.
Right. So do a Jeep Jamboree if you have a Jeep. Highly recommend it. It'll change your experience with your Jeep vehicle. That being said, today's trail.
Yeah.
Right out of the gate.
Oh my God.
We basically get off the highway, we go up a gravel access road, and then we make the left turn
very tight
onto the Class
very
4
tight turn.
road.
Yeah.
And right away we had an obstacle.
Huge. This rock was just sticking out, and I was third in line, you were second in line, and Ralph, who loves to climb over anything, he's got our guide, a beautifully modded LJ, which is a TJ with an extended bed. He goes up, and I see this thing angle up into the air, twist over this rock, and he just goes. And I'm like, oh crap. And then I see you go, and you did the line, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. And this is 5 seconds into this thing.
And so I mean, but you have to go.
Right.
And you sort of know where you have to go, but what's going through your head?
What first went through my head is, I think I'm going to flip my Jeep. And Melissa's not going to be happy.
Now, thankfully, your wife took a spa day.
She did, yes. Yeah.
And she was not, because if she was a co-pilot, I think you would have even been more hesitant.
Maybe because yesterday it was like, look out for the rock, look out for that rock, and there's an obstacle. But today I think it would have been, don't you push this thing any further. Wait for somebody to help you. And I think after getting over that first obstacle, it would have been a lot more fun. She would have enjoyed it, and she would have seen. I'm glad she had her day, and got to go explore Killington.
Listen, she deserved the day.
Absolutely.
Regardless of riding with you yesterday, she deserved the day. But what happened to your confidence level with, your between you and your vehicle, between you and Julius?
Yeah.
What happened to your confidence level after you because you struggled a little bit.
I struggled a lot.
You struggled a little bit, and then
on that one,
and then we gave you a little bit of, just guidance, and then you got over that obstacle.
Yes.
And what did that feel like for you?
I screamed. I I was so pumped because I didn't think I'd be able to do it. And it was that simple advice of, I don't have a limited slip differential. I don't have lockers. It's really, besides the lift, it's a fairly stock Sahara from 2003. And just modifying my line to be able to get that grip, because I really didn't have any of this training. It's like, you're going to slip if you don't have a foot on the, if you don't have a tread on the rock. So backed up a little bit, moved it one way so that both tires could bite the rock, and it went. I gunned it. I heard a little grinding underneath, popped the back over, and I screamed. It just felt so good to get over that.
That sounds like my wedding night. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a joke that you will come to appreciate if you continue to listen to these things. But
the bump and the grind.
Yes. Hey.
Hey-o. But from that point on, I think I felt like I could attack things that I thought I needed to be more careful with. Approach them the right way. Look at the line. There were even some lines you did that I didn't take. It was like, I think, my wheelbase is a little bit more narrow. I'm going to go this way. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But I think I felt...
You felt confident enough to try it.
Exactly.
You weren't hesitant. You weren't indecisive.
Right.
And that I saw the change in you. And I was very proud for you to do that.
Thank you.
Because that's the first time. And that's the great thing about the Jamboree, is that you can come out here not knowing squat about off-roading.
Right.
And just learn, because everyone's here to help you.
Yeah.
The guides are here to help. The people are in the group are here to help. Some of them are green. Some of them are, veterans.
Right.
So, it's all part of the experience, but you put the noobs with the experienced guys, and then, you get this melding of the knowledge.
Right. And, one thing is, people may not be aware too. It's like when you hit these certain obstacles, I would say we had maybe a half dozen today that were like serious obstacles. So someone has trouble getting over, a guide will come out and help, but also everyone comes down to watch that gets over it. Everyone comes down, they take pictures, they watch what's happening, and that's a learning experience.
Right.
Watching the guides tell them, no, do this, turn the wheel, go this way. It is seriously.
Well, I mean, the biggest thing for me when I was, doing like my first and second Jamboree was watching the line of the person in front of me, and hopefully that was the guide. But if it wasn't the guide, hopefully I would see, okay, this person went that way. They struggled because whatever.
Right.
What can I do to improve that? Or I watch the guide and I go, oh, okay, he put that tire on that, right side.
Right.
And that carried him over. Okay, so I need to try to do that.
Right.
And you have to watch what's happening in front of you. That's a big part of it.
Yeah, because I would watch Ralph, our guide, go in front of you and see his roof do these weird motions and movements, and I'm like, okay, we're up to something. So then I'd watch you and see how you approached it, and that gave me, the information I think I needed.
Pick one of the two that you've seen.
I don't like the way his Jeep moved at that point, so what's my other line? But I think throughout the day, it gave me the confidence to say, yeah, I'm going to go his way, or you know what, I'm going to be better if I go like this. One, you went way inside and tracked down low, and I know I had room to go up and over this other bump, and I think there was a rock there, and it worked, and I think those are those little decisions that make you think, okay, I'm all right.
Right. And then there's always multiple lines, but
Yep.
you have to sort of feel confident in the decision that you're making. Because if
Right.
you're hesitant with your approach,
Right.
you're
Well, you like
probably
taking
going to get stuck.
chances sometimes
I do.
too.
I
Yeah.
do. I do. I'm a little bit of a risk taker.
Yeah.
But I will say this too, that, when I was here with the Jeep in 19 in its stock form,
Right.
I was as green as, you were today. I had no clue. And I relied on the guide and other people, and I got through it. Like I said, I got maybe tugged over a couple of obstacles and, you know, needed some help. But for the most part, the stock Jeep, it got banged around.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I was seriously concerned about driving home on the highway for 4.5 hours, but it was fine.
Yeah.
But then I put money. I put money into upgrading the Jeep. I put money into a very good Terraflex Alpine suspension and lift, shocks. Short arms.
You studied it. Yeah. You studied what
I
you
did
thought you
research
needed. Yeah.
and tires, and I researched it, and I put Cooper Evolution tires on mud terrains, which are for me like the greatest tire on earth. I will just say that.
Yeah.
My tires have not let me down at all.
Yeah, you gripped everything today. And I think talk about that test. Like you had said, I want to see how it reacts now to what I remember.
Right. And that's the thing. Like everything that I've spent my money on, and it's been, a fair amount of money, re-gearing the Jeep to 4.56s,
Yep.
putting on the bigger 35-inch tires, putting on the lift kit, doing bumpers and a winch and all that stuff. Like, say what you will, Rick Payway, but I do try to subscribe to lockers before light bars, and I don't have lockers yet, but I
Right.
will say this: my little Sport S,
Yeah.
without lockers, did
Did really
every
well.
obstacle without hesitation, as good as the guy did.
Right.
And yes, I want lockers. I want to be able to go to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like everything that I've spent the money on has proven itself in performance, because I did not scrape more than maybe once or twice. Once was intentional, where I was trying to
That
pop
log.
up on a log. And,
Well, they sold it too. The leaders were like, "Okay, there's a great obstacle up here.
Right.
Our daughter dragged this tree. It's going to be an awesome
Right.
opportunity." And he did pop it, right?
He did.
He got over it.
He did. He got over it.
Yeah.
I mean, but he had to do a 3 or 4 or 6
Yes.
point turn, and
Yes,
it
exactly.
was kind of the same for me. But if you went around the log, you still could make the turn. But whatever.
Well, and that's what I love about having a two-door, because I did go around it. I backed up, did a little 2-point turn, and just went right up that hill.
Right.
So many that have the 4 doors, it's a challenge
Well,
to
it's
navigate.
bigger. It's a bigger vehicle, and there's way more 4 doors out
Yeah.
there in the wild than 2
They're,
doors.
they're not as nimble.
Now, you had 2 moments today, which I have not experienced personally, but as a Jeeper,
Yeah.
as a non-Rubicon Jeeper, I would say these are highlights, where you had to pull a Rubicon
Right.
over an obstacle 2 times.
2 times.
Not one, twice.
Right. And I'm like, I don't know what to do here. And that's where the guides come in so handy. He's like, back your Jeep up. I'm like, who, me? Because I had never done that. Never mind being on the trail, helping someone else out. And they came right in. Do you have, let's get your toe strap. And, he helped set it up the first time. You did it the second time when I moved it down there. I was more nervous about backing up what I had just overcome to help the guy. I'm like, really? I got to do this? But, so again, yeah, my Sahara's relatively stock except for the lift. And I think that and I made a conscious decision to not it came with 35-inch tires. I wanted 33s. I didn't want to be as high. I didn't want to be as heavy. And I think that paid off a little bit, because I was able to just float over things.
Were you Muhammad Ali?
I have float like a butterfly, sting like a Rubicon. But it was kind of funny. I felt so bad for them. They were such a great couple, and theirs was
they
a
were,
stock.
but let's just say it out loud, okay? There's a line in the Jeeping community,
Yep.
the Rubicons and the non-cons.
Okay.
And if you don't have a Rubicon, you feel a little bit inferior. I mean, you just do. You have a chip on your shoulder.
Right.
And whatever. I've met plenty of people who have Rubicons who just maul crawl them.
Right.
I know a few that's just what. But they bought the Rubicon. Like I bought a Sport S because I wanted to spend the money on upgrades that I wanted. I didn't want to just,
Right.
go all in. So the fact that your Sahara, my Sport S,
18-year-old Sahara.
yes, 18-year-old Sahara, pull the Rubicon, which is $60,000 or so dollars,
Right.
out of a mud hole, and he's got lockers and the whole
Right.
bit, and you had nothing,
Out of a mud hole and over a rock.
right? And so that's a highlight.
Yeah.
That is a highlight, and you can gloat if you want. So overall, after this fantastic 2-day event, we had cooperation of the weather. We had good friends here with us.
Absolutely.
What are your takeaways from this weekend?
It was something I'd always thought about, wanted to do, and it exceeded my expectations. Just as the Jeeping community, and taking part in an event and putting our Jeep through the paces and seeing a beautiful area. Killington's gorgeous, and you had everything from mountain views and farm views and alpaca farm. I mean, so if anybody can get to Killington who's not from around here, it's well worth it. I did the Tennessee Jeep Jam with you, and that was a whole different scene. So if you can do Killington, Vermont's beautiful and it's a great area. But I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it taught me a lot about what I have now in a Jeep and what it can do.
Now, has your Jeep has Julius been elevated from beach Jeep to bitchin' Jeep, or to what level is Julius at now?
We'll have to ask Julius when he wakes up in the morning how he survived the day. But it's definitely better than beach rated, which I put on there. I guess the trail rating badges didn't happen until 2004. So I thought, I'm going to beach rate him. He's light khaki metallic. He looks like beach sand. And, we really love Julius. Julius is our favorite fish song. That's how we named him. But it's definitely been elevated beyond beach rating.
Okay, so the $1 million question. Well, two $1 million questions. Are you going to spend $1 million on upgrading Julius?
If I win $1 million, I will do that.
Will you do another Jeep Jamboree?
I would. Yeah, absolutely. I would. Probably. I think the only thing I would really need, I enjoy the level of the trails that we did today. I don't want to get into I can crawl up giant rocks at a 40-degree angle or whatever. I would consider
that's after the next Jamboree. You'll feel that way.
I would consider the mud terrain tires when I need new tires. I think that would get me a little bit more of a gripping option. But otherwise, I'm really happy. I mean, I saw other Jeeps that were much more built out than mine have a harder time getting over things. So I think part of it was the weight of the Jeep and the body style. It's a smaller, thinner 2-door. So I think just with the right tires, I could enjoy another event like today. You'll have to, go on the higher rated trails when you get yours all tricked out.
All right.
I'll enjoy this.
All right. So we're going to try and do more of these Talk is Jeep podcasts. There's a whole range of things I think we could talk about, like, technical stuff and mechanical stuff a little bit, not like gearhead, but just upgrades and,
and the lifestyle of loving your Jeep.
Yeah. So we're planning to do some more. We'll see how it goes. But for now, from Killington,
Vermont,
as I raise my Don Julio Añejo tequila
yes,
to you, Tom.
And to you for getting me out here. Cheers.
I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll talk to you soon.
It was a great time. Thank you.